gentrification and how much displacement is accelerated by it. The way that gentrification works is essentially that it prevents, it doesn't increase displacement by a lot. What it does is it prevents people like the residents there from moving back into the neighborhood. So the people who you mentioned who are kids of people in Highland Park, right, they can no longer afford to move there, right? They'll still be moving at approximately the same rate. This is again based on reality. So if we want to deal with displacement, we have to build more housing of all types. More market rate housing helps. More affordable housing helps twice as much. Public housing helps, right? Home ownership helps. All these things slow down displacement and eviction. And finally, I'll encourage you to read the article in the LA Times from 2 days ago that says that the types of projects that Moderator would stop don't evict many people because they're big projects built on parking lots, like the Reef is. The type of projects that evict people in Los Angeles that use Ellis Act evictions don't use zone changes. They don't use general plan amendments. They're just someone buying the piece of, like the small apartment. They Ellis Act evict the residents, and then they're like, hey, now I can charge more money to new tenants, okay? So it's like, you probably got those mailers with the eviction notice, or the mailer saying that Prop S helps affordable housing. Maybe really fucking mad. You know why? Because there are people getting evicted in this city, and there are people who are paying too much rent. And Measure S would not help them, it actually hurt them by increasing pressures in the existing neighborhoods because we're not having this escape valve of big projects on vacant land. So look, if you care about those issues, which I congratulate you for, and I think most of us do, please understand what this would do and what would not do.
I'm sorry, but he said a few things. The first is that the other side of that flyer was a quote from the Eviction Defense Network founder and executive director, Elena Pop, who speaks to the point that the Wyvernwood project, which is 4,400 market rate units in Boyle Heights, a brick has not been laid. But in Boyle Heights, because people think that project is coming with the general plan amendment, landlords have gotten more aggressive in pushing out tenants, rents have gone up. It is fantasy, and this is ridiculous, because I just came from a renters conference yesterday with people throughout the state of California, or in San Francisco and Oakland, that this issue is taken seriously. And I told them that there are actually people in LA who claim that these massive luxury towers don't lead to indirect displacement, don't lead to rent increases, that is something that's actually debated. And that's the problem here. LA Tenants Union, eviction defense attorneys, the reason they're in favor of this is because they see that these general plan amendments are drastically used to bring in luxury housing prices and to take advantage of lower land values in historically black and brown communities. And you don't want to recognize that. You don't want to point to the Reef, to the Kingdoms, to Wyvernwood. That's factually inaccurate. And I don't like the fact that you tell people inaccurate things like more market rate housing in the hood is not going to lead to gentrification. It's factually and completely unsubstantiated by any study.
So it'll lead to less displacement.
Yeah.
Oh, so they do displace, it's just fewer people.
Hold on. I want to say to everybody, but to you right now particularly, I want us to be able to have a conversation, but when you start saying you don't this, that kind of thing, I feel like that changes the tone.
I feel like that tone was changed by him in his statement when he began accusing people about mailers.
Let's all agree we're going to keep it cool from here on.
Guys. So I would say
I'm the facilitator.
Stop doing the you, and he can stop it too.
Nikki, I'm the facilitator, so today I get to be in charge. Not for very much of my life, so let me enjoy it. I just want everybody I just want for everybody. I know we get passionate, right? And I want us to be able to speak, but we all have to be careful, even when we're angry. And I really want to hear what you're saying, and I actually don't hear it when I start feeling like...
And let me say a comment.
Yeah, thank you. Do it again.
The study that he referenced has been rebutted by the UC Berkeley professors, which is saying...
But loudly, too.
What's the name of the study?
We're living in Los Angeles where we actually have people that debate, and this is not a debate, it's historically well settled that massive luxury housing prices lead to increased rents around the project, more aggressive landlords, and lead to more displacement. The Eviction Defense Network founder could see that eviction notice on the back of it was her quote, along with the statement that the LA Tenants Union, which firmly rebuts the supply-demand thing. It's not talking about supply and demand, we're talking about free market development with no rules. But nonetheless, the eviction defense attorney said that one project, Wyvern Wood, a massive project, the second largest proposed project in all of Valley County, 4,400 market rate units, where a brick has not been laid because it hasn't yet been built, has led to increased rates, more evictions around the site. That's what you will find in any study of any legitimate study of gentrification.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I'd love responses first from Mike and then from Jeff.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only thing I would add to what Mark said earlier is just that I would not dispute the fact that, you know, when people build luxury housing in low-income neighborhoods, that's gentrification, of course, right? But I think the only thing I would say is that if you also look at other neighborhoods where we aren't building, there's gentrification, right? And so it's hard to isolate as the causal factor the fact that we have development as like this is the cause of gentrification, right? And the fact that, you know, you have landlords stepping up before the development is even being built, right, just sort of says something about the general state of the market too. It's overheated, right? There's not enough supply, and people are able, you have given a lot of power to landlords. And I think that this is an important distinction, that it's easy to say the developers are making billions, right? But developers don't profit off of high housing prices, right? Developers profit off high housing prices once their projects are done and they become landlords. Landlords profit off high housing prices. And while most developers are landlords, most landlords aren't developers, right? If you think about where most of the rental housing in this city is, it's not stuff that's been built in the last 5, 10, or even 20 years. But those people, they have power to evict people, to raise rents. When they put a unit on the market, there's 11 people calling them. That's how our prices go up. And again, market rate housing isn't the only solution to this. There need to be stronger laws against evictions and displacement and so forth, right? But we can't solve this until we remove some of the grip, some of the incredible power that landlords have right now because they don't have competition, because they don't have new supply.
Okay, Jack.
One of the things that Damien, it's Damien, right?
Yes.
Yeah, one of the things that Damien mentioned was gentrification. There's two types of gentrification. One is residential gentrification, where you come in there and the housing prices, Highland Park go crazy, or Silver Lake go crazy. The other one is commercial gentrification. And commercial gentrification is where all of a sudden, where Jack's coffee shop was, there's now a Starbucks. Or there comes an IKEA, or whatever the chain store is, where they drive up the rents. And when you drive up the rents, you're starting to drive out the people, because the people that live there because they can't, they just can't afford it. Dry cleaner, clean a shirt costs $1, now it costs $2, or they put in a Whole Foods or something along those lines. So that's the other part of gentrification. The other thing that hits me here is we're talking about affordable housing. We're talking about homeless housing. One of the things we haven't addressed is that's really expensive stuff. And where's that money going to come from? So for example, let's say affordable housing. Who's going to pay the? Let's say a unit goes up there, it's going to cost $5,000 a month, and you're going to pay somebody can pay $1,500. Where's the other $2,500 or $3,500, $2,500 going to come from? We're talking real money here. And the legislative analyst up in Sacramento, he just sort of threw up his arms, the way he wrote it, and said, we just don't have enough money for this thing. So I think one of the things that we have going on here is, yes, there's a shortage of housing, but how are we going to afford it? And from my perspective, it's worth taking a 2-year or a 3-year break, where we're going to be able to sit down there and sort of think this thing through, get a blueprint of what the plan is, so that we can then go ahead in an orderly manner. To go ahead and spend billions of dollars without a damn plan is lunacy. So let's pass Measure. Here we go again. Let's pass Measure S. Let's then have the debate. Force the city to have the debate. The real estate developers will go crazy. They'll want that debate more than anybody. But have that discussion. Put it on the ballot after there's been a real discussion about what the hell we want our city to be.
I wanted to come in with a couple of numbers. Under the current system, which that's what, if one votes no on, one is essentially voting for the current system to continue as it is. You could try to make incremental things with the city council. I don't know, none of us have much faith in this being able to get anywhere in the city council, or the mayor, or anyone downtown, or the planning commission. But there's two things that have happened under the current system. Under the current system, approximately 2% of the housing built is affordable. You've heard that statistic closely. Somebody said 1.5. So it sure ain't 80%. It's more like 2% when you really sift through it. And there's a legal definition for affordable. Now, that's not an opinion thing. Now, the next thing is, when we say glut inexpensive housing, by the city's numbers, the vacancy rate in these newly built buildings, and these things that are really the issue of what people want to keep building, luxury housing, okay, is 15%. So building these is not addressing, and yet the crisis in affordable housing continues unabated. It gets worse every year, and every year we build more luxury housing, and every year all of this gets worse. And every year there's more people on the street. Now, these things cannot be unconnected. So if we go forward with the same, we'll get the same. Wasn't it the definition of insanity is that if you keep doing the same thing expecting a different result? So if we just stay with this system where many people say that it's illegal to have spot zoning, but some people, debate that, but it'll continue unabated. What we have to do, I don't think we have a choice here between urbanizing and non-urbanizing. I don't think we have a choice between density and non-density. I think we have to accept density is going to happen. I think the choices here is, shall we keep doing it the way we're doing it now, or shall we try something different? Maybe it's not perfect, but it's given all the different regulations you have to follow, it's not so bad at all. 2 years isn't very long to take a time out and try something different, and that is plan. Will we have planned density or will we have unplanned? And the 2-year moratorium, by the way, we have so few planning people in LA. Seattle has a bigger planning staff than Los Angeles, that they have no time at this point to work on plans. They have no time because they get around 100,000 projects to process each year. Of those 100,000 projects, this moratorium would affect at the high end 600, which is 6%, and more likely in the middle 5%. So we're having this debate. It affects the moratorium 5% of the total.
5% of projects, 50% of units.
Okay.
Approximately, but luxury units, that's the important difference. Units are not created alike.
Okay, let's get some responses, and then it's funny because I realize I've been so good at asking you guys questions, letting you folks ask questions, I haven't asked some of mine. And there are a few that I really want to make sure to ask before we wrap up. No, I know, but I want to, so I'm just saying, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself, but I want your responses, and then I will go back to the group and try to I'm just saying all this because it is after 3. And so I'm hoping we can wrap up in like the next 20 minutes is my goal. Okay, so I'm sorry, Mark, and then whoever else wants to.
So just to clarify again, a little disagreement on numbers. That in the last 5 years, we've been building about 1,400 units of deed restricted affordable housing in the city of LA.
That's not accurate. We have to give a report from the city that says in 2015 was signed by the mayor that says you guys have been built with 100,000.
Full ladder.
This is from the city, the mayor signed it, and it says here that, it says a contributing factor to the acute housing affordability problem is a mismatch between what is being built and what needs to be built. This is from the city, this council member that did this report, the mayor signed it and sent it to him. In 2013, the most recent year for which the full data is available, of the 1,600 units needed for low-income households in the city of Los Angeles, only 593 were built. Los Angeles added 37% of the needed housing for low income, but nearly 150% of the units needed for the above moderate income